we are doing the review for your exam 1, right? The exam 1 will have 2 chapters, chapter 1 and chapter 2. So in your chapter 1, what do? We learn the numbers we need for the stats class, which are decimals, fractions, and percents, right? They are interchangeable, so you will convert from one to the other, right? Also, you should be able to compare which one is bigger, which one is smaller. We also did what? For the decimals, we need to know how to round, right? Rounding the decimals. So that's for your chapter 1. For chapter 2, what do? We start to learn what? The algebra skills to solve the problems we need. So we need to, what do we do on your chapter 2? Let's see. You will, yes, you will need to know the positive and negative number, right? How to operate them on plus, minus, add, subtract, multiply, and divide, right? For positive and negative numbers. Also, you need to follow what? The order of operations. Then we learn the algebra skills. That means what? You should be able to plug in, right? How to plug in the numbers to the variables, then do the order of operations. Also, you need to learn the algebra skills for the stats. That means you need to know how to solve linear equations. Have we done that? Also, we used rectangles to do the probability things, possibly, right? For the uniform distributions, which is what? Rectangle. Then we need to learn how to operate on the areas. Okay, so rectangular areas, so the whole area is what? 1, which means what? 100%. Okay, so that would be your exam 1, and let's take a look to do the some more practice. Okay, so look your exam 1 review paper. Right? You should print it out. It's better you print it out and follow the class with it, so you have a hands-on practice. That's better instead of just listen, right? The answer keys are in your package. On the home page on the top, you have the notes with the answer keys. Those answers for the exam, for the review, will be in your package, okay? You can do either way by just listen to the class with your note and with the keys, just like your textbook, or you use the blank notes, listen and write it down, okay? So first one, rounded to 3 decimal places. We want to know, you can do the order of operations and with calculators and to calculate the number correctly, okay? The calculator follow the what? The order of operations, okay? So you need to do that. So for this one, you need to do what? Power part first. They should multiply before you take a power. So if you use the calculator, you should take a power for 3.61 times 3.43. If you do that on your calculator, you will not get the right answer, because calculator will follow what? Power first, then multiply, which is not what we want. We wanted to multiply the power first, right? Okay? So you will enter to the calculator this way, then you will get this number 12339.07107, right? Then it says to round to 3 decimal places. So 3 decimal, the remaining you don't want, below the 5, so you drop. So your answer should be this one, right? That's how you enter to your calculator. How about this one? What do you think? How should you enter to the calculator? So you will have, that's your base, to the power. Power is the whole thing. You need to do it first, right? So with parentheses. So you will get 0.149. You actually wanted to have hands-on, so you get the right answer. So make sure you can do that, right? You can use calculator or use computer. So 3 decimal places, that's a 3. So what do we have? So that would be your answer. Is that right? So next one. There is a new lottery where the player selects 5 regular numbers from 1 to 21. So you have 1, 2, 3, all the way to 21. And the 1 make number. So first you select the 5 numbers from here. Then another 1 make number, 1 to 20. You select 1 number. Okay, total 6 numbers. After putting it into a calculator, the probability winning is found to be what? If you put it into the calculator, you don't know how to do that yet. Okay, you will learn this in the stats class. If you choose such options, then what's your chance to win? Things like that, right? Then the calculator will give you this number and convert this this is your probability, things for you to win, right? Convert this probability into standard decimal notation. So this is a scientific notation on your calculator, right? Then you need to change it to decimals. So what do we say to the -6 power? That means you have to move the decimal point to the left or to the right. If positive, it becomes bigger, so move to the right. If negative becomes smaller, you move to the left. Okay, for the decimal point. How many places you need to move? 6. Left 6. Negative go left, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's your new decimal place. With empty space, what do? Put a 0. So your answer should be 5 zeros here. 4, 5, 2, 4, 5, 7. So this number, scientific notation on your calculator, means this number, right? Okay, so we are practicing the basic numbers we need to use with rounding and converting, right? And scientific notations as well. Next one, number 3, calculate the following, rounding your answer to 4 decimal places. So for the first one, square root of 29. If you have a square root on your calculator, you can just use that, right? If you don't see the square root, it's always there. But what do? How many powers you will use? We say you can use half or 0.5. Square root, this one means the power of half. Okay, you don't know why, but that's what it is, unless you take an algebra sequence. that will show you the reason, okay? But it means 0.5 power or half power. Or you can do 29 or this one to the half power. Half power means what? 1 divided by 2. You enter to the calculator like 1/2, which is 0.5, right? So what do you have? You will have 5.3. You want to actually punch in, so when you come back to school, and later on when you use calculator in the class, you have to do it yourself, okay? So how many decimal places we need? 4 of them. You don't want a remaining, then this should be rounded up, so your answer should be this, right? Okay, next one is saying 29/2. It's the same thing, right? So 29/2 is 1/2 power. So you get the same answer. So you can write it different ways and the answer should be the same. Next one, we say all the fractions and decimals and percent are interchangeable, right? So we want you to change fractions to both decimal and percent. Or have decimals, you need to find the other two. Or you have the percent, you should be able to find others. All right, so if we have first one, how do we convert fraction to decimal? So for the first one, fractions means what? Division. 7 divided by 7 is 6. So you put it into the calculator, right? So what do we have? We have this one. Then decimals, it says 4 places. Percent is what? 2 places, 2 decimals. So we need the 4 places, right? Then we don't want the remaining decimal points. So this one you need to round up. So this is 0.21, right? So you should have 0.921. Change it to percent means per 100 to that place. So it should be what? 9.21, but it's for percent. So you write 9.21%. Are we good? Okay. For the second one, 0.8. How do you change 0.8 to fraction? So decimal to fraction, this is what? Tenths, hundreds, thousands. Remember your position? This is a tenth. Means what? A is in the 10th position. Okay? But if you give me this answer, you only get half credit. Why? Because for fractions, you always use simplest form. So you need to know how to simplify it. Divided by 2. If you don't, you still don't, you need to go to Children's Center. Okay? So that's 4/5. Then 0.8, change it to percentage to the 100 per 100. So that would be what? Move to 2 places would be your 80%. Is that right? Okay. For the last one, you have percentage. Then you want to change to decimals. So you need to move to the left 2 places. So that would be 0.446, right? Then change the decimal to the fraction. What do you do? So tenth, hundredths, thousandths. So 446 is for the thousandths. So you 3 places, you put the 30 there. Then the answer need to be simplified. So divided by 2, that would be 2, 2, 3, and 500. You cannot simplify anymore. So that would be your answer for that. Right? Are we good? So that's how you change it back and forth. Right? So that's on your chapter 1 for the things. Also, we compare all the fractions, decimals, and percent. Then for decimals, when we compare 0.06, 0.0016, 0.0061, and 0.006. We want you to line up from the smallest to largest, okay, or largest to smallest. Let's change it to smallest to the largest. Okay, so which one is the smallest one? So what do? You lined up with all the decimal points, right? So they can line up dollar to dollar, dimes to dime, penny to penny. So then what do? You need to compare same way. So empty places, put a 0 there because you have 4 decimal points, right? So this one is a tenth, hundredths, thousandths, 10 thousandths. So that's a 600 out of 10 thousandths. 16 out of those 10 thousandths, right? 61 out of it. So what do you think? Which one is smaller? That's a 600, 16, 61, 60. So this one will be the smallest one, right? That will be 0.0016. That's the smallest one, right? Then second one is a 60, less than 61 is 60, 600. So it should be less than the 60. 61 is 0.006, right? And less than, next one is 61.0061, and less than the last one is 0.06, right? So that will be your answer from smallest to largest. If from largest to smallest, you should write it this way. Usually we write the smaller number on the left hand side, larger number on the right hand side, just like your number line, right? Okay, so that's how you do it. Okay, let's look next one. So that would be your chapter 1. In chapter 2, we do positive, negative number, and order of operations, plugging, right? And solving linear equations. So here says, write a rule for determining the sign of the answer in a multiplication and division problem. So if you have a sign, so multiplication and division, right? So positive times positive, same sign times the same sign, what do you think? It should all be positive. If different signs, then it should be negative, right? Adding and subtracting are different, right? So for the division, same sign, they should all be positive, right? Then different signs, it should be what? Negative. Same thing as those. Okay? And we also know what? Even number. Even, okay? Even negative multiplied together, you should get a what? Positive. Right? odd numbers of negatives multiplied together, you should get negative, right? We did that. Then next one, you have those. You need to pay attention with those and follow the order of operations, right? So for the first one, we say the power applied to the number right in front of it. This one right in front of it is whole thing, parentheses. Okay, so for the square, the base is what? Negative 0.8. You times twice. So even number of negative you multiply together is positive. Then how do you multiply the decimals? 8 times 8, 64, 2 decimal places. So you need to do that. That's your answer, right? Or you use calculator. Then what else? This one applied to the number in front of it, just a negative 0.8 as a base for the 2, right? So that means you times this twice for the base. What happened to the negative number? It attached to the number behind it. You have to attach that thing to the whole thing. So the answer should be what? Negative 0.64. Okay? You need to pay attention to that. Okay? Then we also, for the numbers, we need to do is what? Follow the order of operations. For same category, plus and minus, you do what? From left to right. And same thing, multiplication and division, you do it from left to right. Okay? You have to do division first. 40 divided by 2, 20, times 5, you should get 100. If you do 2 times 5, it's 10. 40 divided by 10, that would be 4. You get the wrong answer. Remember this? We couldn't repeat enough times for you to make sure you will always do it right. Okay? So easy to make a mistake because you thought, oh, multiplication is more dominant, so you will do that first. Don't do that. Okay? So remember your rules, and until it becomes a second nature for you. Then for this one, what do you think? How should you do? Negative, negative, negative. How many negative? Odd number. Right? So the answer should be what? Negative. Right? The remaining, you just simplify. 2 is 1, that's 7. So what should we have? Write your answer in fractions, right? So 1 times 7, 7. 1 times 5 is 5. So that's your answer. Okay? Then we don't change the improper fraction to mixed numbers anymore. Just leave us an improper fractions. Okay, let's see. Next one. And we also have what? Add, subtract, multiply, and divide, right? For the negative number, then follow the order of operations. We'll always do group first. So you will do the group first. Negative 3 plus 4 is what? 1, right? And 6 times 1. So you will do that first. Okay? Then what do? You will do multiplication before addition and subtraction. 6 times 1 is 6. Now you have this. Bunch add, subtract, right? Addition and subtraction. So then you do it from left to right, right? Negative 7 plus 6 is negative 1. Negative 1 plus negative 4. Same sign, same sign you combine, right? 1 and 4 is 5. Different signs, negative 7 and 6, different signs, you have to find the difference because they are different, right? 7 and 6 is 1, but the negative number is bigger, so you use the negative sign. Remember this? Okay? Then your test, like this. You have bunch grouping symbols. You have what? Parentheses and bracket. Okay? Then this, you always do from inside to outside. And these two groups, okay, there is no symbol between them two groups. That means multiplication. But you have to do inside first. Make each group as simple as possible, right? So within this group, you do that first. Then within that you have addition and multiplication. Don't add first because it will be more dominant thinking for you. You have to get rid of that and do the multiplication first, right? So you have to do this. That will be negative 15. Then this is this group you have to finish up. And negative 1 plus negative 15. Same sign, you combine 1 and 15 is 16. Then they are negative. You should do that. Negative 16. Right? Then two group together means what? Multiplication. Right? Negative times negative is what? Positive. 2 times 16 is 32. That's how you should do. Right? Okay. And let's see. Next one. All right, bunch of words. You have to get used to the words for your stats class and map your English to math. All right, translate your English statement to math statements. That's what we mean. Okay, so let's take a look. First one for number 8. So it says, if the equation of the regression line that relates income in dollars of students' parents X, okay, with cost in dollars of tuition Y, is Y equals A300 plus. Okay, let's read the question again. See what they are telling us. Okay, because you will see the two variables, X and Y, but you have to identify the meaning for each one. What do they represent? Okay, what is Y? It says Y with cost in dollars of tuition Y. So Y is what? The tuition you need to pay. Okay, with dollars. Okay, what is X? X is relates income in dollars of students' parents. So X is what? Parents' income. That's what it's saying. So they will charge you tuition per parent's income. Okay, depending Y depends on X. So when it looks like if your parents have more income, you need to pay more tuition. That's what it's saying. That's what the equation here means. Okay? It means. So first question, it says, what is best prediction for the tuition for the students whose parents earn no income? Just happen, okay? If they do business, then they spend all the income to run the business. Then on the tax return, they will show no income. No income with what? Parents' income means what? Your X is 0. right? Then when your parents' income is 0, what's your tuition? What do you think? You just plug in. So your y equals what? A300 plus 0.0025 times 0. 0 times is 0. So the answer should be what? $8,300. Okay? You need to give me dollar sign or something to indicate, or you say dollars. Because we are talking about dollars, right? You need to specify what kind of things you are working with. Otherwise, you get some deductions because we are not talking about, square feet. What's the house, the size of the house or something. Okay? Or we are not counting the goats. So, next one. What is best prediction of the tuition of students whose parents earn $60,000? So it's saying, okay, if your parents' income is $6,000, that means 60,000 for X. Then, according to this formula given, how much tuition you should pay. So your Y should be what? 83,000 plus 0.0025 times 60,000. Okay, then you do your math, you find out it's 9,800. Then you need to give me what? Otherwise you get deduction. You need to give me, say, it's $1 amount. Okay, if the next one, this one is a prediction. It's not always, usually for stats, we do prediction and we use the formula to do the prediction. Prediction, most time, if the criteria are correct, your prediction will be accurate, but not always. Okay? It's an estimate, It's not exact. Next one, if you say, okay, your parents make $70,000, according to the formula given, how much tuition you should pay? The Y. So you do 83,000 plus 0.25. So we are learning what? How to plug in with the information given, right? It's a regression line. It's just a line, okay, for the prediction. So then this one, if you do it, will be 10,050,000. Got it? Okay, so we are doing algebra. Part of it is to know how to plug in. So first, the algebra skills you need is doing the plug-in. Okay? Then you solve linear equation. Next one, on your page 3. It says the z-score is given by this formula. You start to learn something called z-score, right? Equals x minus mu over sigma. Remember, x is always your variable. Variable means what? The things you are working with. That's your reference. Then y is your result. Okay? Here, z is your result. X is the one you're working with. X is the variable. Mu usually, not usually, it's always we use what? Population average, population mean. Then sigma is population standard deviation. Okay? Just know the terms. The meaning you don't really understand. Okay? For this class. Because we need to talk more things before we can explain the true meaning to you. But now we just learn the algebra skills to plug in. So it says what? X is this. All right, your variable is this. Your mu's population mean is this one. Your population standard deviation is this one. Then what's your z? So we want you to know how to plug in. So you plug in here, right? X is 2.26 minus 4.98 over sigma 3.333, right? Then you put it into the calculator correctly. You need to know how to use calculator, right? So you do 2.26 minus 4.98 divided by 3.333. If you do that on your calculator, you will have a wrong answer. You didn't plug in right. Even you plug in correctly on the paper, right? And with calculator, we know this is a group. You will follow the order of operations. If you do that, you will do division first before the subtraction. That's not what we want. We want to do subtraction first. So you have to tell calculator, this is a group. Do it first with parentheses. Okay, so you need to do that when you enter the numbers to the calculators. So that will give you negative point A106, A16082. So how many decimals do we need? You will always tell you, right? 3 decimal places. If it doesn't tell you, you can give the whole number or round it to 4. That's good enough. So for 3, we don't want the remaining decimals. So below 5, so we drop it. So that should be your answer. Okay? Are we good? For number 10. Okay. The z-score for the sample distribution is given by like this. Okay? We learned the z-score earlier. So it's z is x minus mu over sigma. And now it's a little bit different, more complicated for the sample distribution. Suppose the population mean among of ours college soccer players practice is mu. So it's saying mu is what? Population mean. And standard deviation sigma. Okay, that's your standard deviation. And Mikhail, is that Mikhail? Sampled n equals 41. N is the number of sampling you use for the college soccer players, and found that their sample mean is x, 18.14. Find the z-score rounded to 3 decimal places. Okay, so it's saying mu is what? Your population mean, right? Which is 19.27. Sigma is your population standard deviation. Okay, it's 4.33. Then sample is 41. Then x is used for what? Your sample. Okay, not the population. It's a sample mean, average. Is mean means average, right? 18.14. So what was the question? Find the z-score, right? You have all the numbers, x, mu, sigma, and n, so you should be find your z-score. You just plug in, right? Mu, x is what? 18.14 minus mu. Mu is here. Okay, that's just right again, so I know where is it. So x is here, 18.14 minus mu, 19.27 over sigma. Sigma is 0.33 over square root of n. N is 41. So that's how you enter. Okay? So you can do it individually. That's when you put it into the calculator, right? But this is a group symbol up and down, right? For the top and the bottom. So how do you enter into the computer or calculator? So this is the group symbol, right? Then divided by this another group, right? So this group, for the numerator, you enter like this. Then bottom is what? 4.33 divided by what? Square root of 41. But if you have square root of 41 in calculator, you can do that. Or you can do 41 to the how many power? 0.5 power square root. Okay? So for this one, if you don't use parentheses, you'll be fine. But it's better to do that, because you do 41 square root first before it's divided into 4.33. Okay, that's how you should enter into your calculator. So you will have negative 1.6710. Okay, you better do it yourself. Otherwise, you won't do it right during the test time. Okay, so 3 decimal places, 3. Okay, drop it. So we should have negative 1.671. Right? Are we good? Straightforward, right? If you can ignore all the words. However, for this class. But later on, you have to find the z-score and find all your this stuff to find your z-score. And to make some kind of decisions later. Okay, for your stats class. Next one. The sample standard deviation is S. Ask us to add up the squared deviation. Take the square root and divide it by 1 less than the sample size. Suppose you have the 3 data values are 13, 2, 24, whose mean is mu equals 13. Then the standard deviation is given by the formula. Okay, so we are going to find the standard deviation. It's like this. And it's saying if you have data 13, 2, and 24, then the formula actually is like, do we have it? Not yet, okay? We give you a formula right now. It says for each individual, it's a 13. You have to minus your mu, whatever the mu is, and you take a square. That's what it's saying, okay? Plus second data is 2 minus mu square. Third data is 24 minus mu square over your total is 3 numbers. So you do 3 minus 1. That's what it was saying on the top. It says the sample standard deviation. So we use S as what? Sample standard deviation. Population standard deviation, we use sigma, okay? Then the way to calculate sample standard deviation is what? Ask us to add up all those squared deviation. Deviation means the number, how far is deviate from the mean, from the center, right? How far it deviated from average. So 3 data, that's your average. You minus the average, take a square, then add them together, divide by 1 less than the sample size. So your sample size is 3. 3 minus 1. That's the formula, okay? So the sample standard deviation is this, then find the value. Then it says if mu is what? 13. So what do? You plug in mu with 13. Right? So you do 13 minus 13 square plus 2 minus 13 square plus 24 minus 13 square over 3 minus 1. So you do it individually and follow the order of operations. That's 0, right? 0 squared. Plus this what? 2 minus 13 is what? Negative 11 squared. Remember your parentheses, right? Because the whole thing takes a square. Here is 11 squared over 2. 3 minus 1. And 11 squared is what? You do it individually. 0 minus 121. Plus 121. Divided by 2. Okay? So that's 242 divided by 2. So 242 divided by 2. So it's what? 121. So you take square root. Is 11. So we are doing what? Practicing the plug-in. Okay? At the same time, you learn the terminologies about something named called population mean, population standard deviation. We use the symbol mu and sigma for those. Okay? Sample size is your n. Okay? Sample means what? Your surveyed data. Okay? Sample means if you collect the data, average is we use X. Okay, but in this class, we don't test you individual meaning, but we just learn the algebra skills, then to plug in and get you ready for your stats class. Next one, on your page 4 of the review paper, number 11, 12. Okay? It says the time it takes a mechanic to change the oil on the car is uniformly distributed between 11 and 30 minutes. That means, okay, average people take 11 minutes or 30 minutes, depending on situation. All right. So the rectangle with area 1 below depicts this. The area of the shaded rectangle is the probability that a mechanic finished the oil change between 19.24 minutes, 0.24 minutes and 23.68 minutes. Find the area of shaded rectangle. Round your answer to 4 decimal places. So, uniformly distributed means what? You will do the rectangle thing, 11 minutes to 30 minutes. Okay, so we want you to find the shaded area from 19.24 to 20.68. So what does that mean? So usually people may take 11 minutes, 12 minutes, or 30 minutes for mechanic to change the oil. All right. So it's asking you between 19.24 and 23.68. So it means, what's the possible chance, probability happens for a mechanic to finish the work between 19.24 and 23.68. He might finish here, he might finish here, he might finish here. But what's the chance to finish here? So that's the portion compared to the whole thing. That's how you do, right? So for rectangle area, we have 2 methods, right? Method 1 is what? Use the portion. Then method 2, use the height. The reason I talk about use the height because your homework and textbook use that method. Okay, but we don't have to for the uniform distribution things. Okay, use portion, then you find the whole thing is 1, right? So what do? We find the total base. So what's the portion of the base, right? Total base is what? 30 minus 11 is 19. Then shade area, shade base is what? Your 23.68 minus 19.24, which is 4.44. So the shade area by the portion would be what? Compared to the base, 4.44 over 19. So then you use calculator to divide them, so you should have this number. Then it says how many decimal places we need? 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then this one need to round up, so it would be 23.37%, somewhere there. Right? Then if you use a method to use the height, you have to find the height first, right? So the base times height is what? 1. The base is what? 30 minus 11, base times height is 1. So what's your height? If you divide it by 19, so the height is 1/19. So height is 1/19, right? Then for the shaded area, it's base times height. Okay, so shaded area is shaded area base times height. So base is what? The shaded area is 4.44 times your height, 1/19. So how do you do that? Change it to decimals, right? Or 4.44 divided by 19. Or you multiply 1 divided by 19. And find the decimal times 4.44. You will end up, it's the same thing, 0.233684 to 105. And to 2 decimal, you get the same answer. Right? You need to practice that. We did many examples already. You should be able to handle that now, right? Okay, so this is talking about probabilities. The chance happens for a mechanic to, change the oil between 90 minutes and 23 some minutes. 23% of them will finish the work at that time if it's uniformly distributed, right? And another thing we have learned is what? Solving linear equations. Okay, you need these algebra skills to solve your probabilities and stats problems. Okay, fractions. How should we start? Is this a linear equation? Equation with the variable power is 1, right? Then to solve linear equations, it means what? Get a variable by itself. Then we have to get rid of 18 and 15, which are close to the C. So you have to times 18 times 18. Then you need to know how to do fractions, multiplication. You put a 1 underneath, you cancel this, right? Then what do we have? Then on your left-hand side, you should have C minus 15 now. Right-hand side, use your calculator, you should have this. Then how do you get a C by itself? Do the opposite, right? Then C would be what? 26.7. That's how we solve linear equations. And we are going to see some examples how to use these skills to solve other problems. Okay? So, if we have a formula, z-score is given like this. We want to find the x. We don't know the x. If we know z is what? 2 and mu is 5, sigma is 7. What's your x? Total you have what? 4 variables. give you 3, you should be able to find the 4th one. So you plug in 2 is z, x we don't know, we are going to find, minus mu is 5, sigma is 7. So you plug in like this. Then you need to solve it just like here, right? It's a linear equation, and you need to solve it and get x by itself. That's the idea. By doing what? Times 7 first. So you put a 1 underneath for fractions. Those can be canceled, right? So what do we have? We have 14 equals x minus 5. Then what's your x? Do the opposite, right? Cancel out. X is what? 19. That's how you solve your linear equation. Right? Are we good? Okay. All right. Let's look at the next one on your page 5. Okay. Number 15. It says a random variable x is uniformly distributed between 12 and 58. Okay? Then find the c value. Find the value of c, so the probability of that x is at the most, c is 0.1957. So you have to figure out what do you need to do, okay? So you know at least you uniformly distribute means what? You have a rectangle, right? Then bottom is from 12 to 58. Then you want you to find c somewhere. Then, so the probability x. So here on this line is all your x, your reference situation. Then we see some more examples. What does x mean, right? Just like we did for the mechanics. They fix the oil change is from 1 minute to 30 minutes, things like that. 11 minutes to 30 minutes. Okay, from the last example, let's see. Right, okay, so if you wait for a bus from 12 minutes to 58 minutes, then you write that that's your reference, waiting x. That's waiting for bus, 12 minutes, 30 minutes, or 40 minutes. So x means something, okay? From previous example is the minute for a mechanic to change the oil. Then if this one is waiting for a bus, then that's your reference. This is your x, okay? Then it says, okay, find the value of c, so the probability that x, this is the x, at the most is 0.1957. So what this means is this is a c. Here, the probability, the area is your probability. Whole thing is 100%. This one is 0.1957. It means what? Almost 19%, 20% of chance for you to wait. You know, what's the 20% of chance you wait for the bus? And at the most, at the c minutes. Okay, let's find the answer first. Then we see what do they really mean. Okay, then we say, if I just use method 1 to do it, use the portion. I just use the portion. It's easier. Okay, so portion means what? This portion is 0.1957. So the total base is 58 minus 12, right? Which is 46 minutes, say. All right, then shaded base would be what? C minus 12. then this portion occupy 0.1957, 19-20%. So the shade area would be what? C minus 12 over 46, supposed to be that number. Okay? So we have a linear equations we just did, right? Solve linear equations by doing what? Get rid of fraction first times 46, right? You put a 1 underneath, you cancel, then you have C minus 12. Then you multiply them, you should get 9.0022. Okay? To solve C, you plus 12, then C is 21.0022. So what does that mean? C is 21.0022. It means what? You will wait, if you wait for the bus, right? You will wait from 12 minutes to 21 minutes, the most, right? The chance for you to wait up to 21 minutes is 20%, 19.57%. It means what? For you to wait for the bus, instead of waiting for, this is 21.0022. So instead of waiting for 23 minutes, 40 minutes, 58 minutes, if you wait for 12 minutes till 21 minutes, the chance for you to do that is 19.57% for you to wait for the bus less time. If you wait for the more time, if this is at the most. If it's at least, that would be what? It's almost like 80% of the chance. If you are here, you have to wait at least 21 minutes for the bus. Then the chance for that is you have to wait at least 21 minutes, okay, to wait for the bus. Maybe 21 minutes, 22 minutes, 23 minutes, all the way to 58 minutes. The chance is 80%. You have more chance to wait, 80% of chance to wait for a long time. You have less chance to wait for the less time. That's what it means. Okay? So you have more chances. You just have to wait more time for the bus. Okay. If it's at the most, C, that means up to. At the most means what? Up to. Okay? At least is what? Means more than. Right? At least you have to more than. So if it says a random variable x is uniformly distributed between 12 and 58. Find the value of C, so the probability x happen is at least. Okay? So when it says at least, you will need to find the C. At least means what? It's more than. It's this portion. It's not on the left-hand side. It's on your right-hand side. Here say it's 0.8043. Okay? Find the value of C. So what do you need to do? Okay, I just use method 1. Okay? How do we write the equation? So your total base will be the same. 58 minus 12 is 46, right? Then your shade base will be what? 58 minus C. It's because of this portion. Okay? Then shaded area is what? 0.8043. So the portion will be what? Shaded over total. 58 minus C over 46 equals 0.8043. okay? It says at least. So we are talking about at least beyond the C, more than C, is this portion. So you have to map the language, that's your English, right, to the math language. And solving it, you use your algebra skills. So times 46 over 1 times 46, right? Cancel off. Then what do we have? We have 58 minus C equals, this one is 36.9978, right? Then to get a C by itself, minus 58, use your calculator, you will have what? Negative 21.0022. Then to get a C by itself with negative there, you have to divide by negative 1. So what's your C? C is 21.0022. You get the same C, but the question is different. One is at least. At least means go beyond. At least here, it's more than, it's this portion. And at the most means what? It's up to that point. So you need to know the comparison. How do we use those words and what do they mean instead? Right? Look at the next one. On your page 6, last one, number 17. It says, a doctor measured serum HDL levels in her patients and found that they are normally distributed with a mean of 67.7 and standard deviation of 3.5. Use the formula Z equals X minus mu over sigma. Start to get familiar with all those symbols now, right? It says Z is a Z-score. Mu is the mean, right? Population mean. Sigma is a standard deviation. So it says the mean is what? Mean 67.7, right? Standard deviation is 3.5. That's your number. Then X is the variable you are working with. Okay? Early on, we have X. What do we talk about X? Oh, sample mean, right? We did it earlier. But here, X is what? X is the variable we are working with, which is the serum HDL level. Okay, we use X. The reference we are referred to, the things we are working with. Okay? Then we want to find the X with given Z. So first one, it gives you Z value is what? Negative 2.2956. And B give you the value Z is 2.3767. So it's given you these two numbers. We want to do what? What was the question? Find the serum HDL levels that correspond to the following Z-score. So we want to find what? Your X with given Z values. Okay, so total for 4 variables give you 3. You should be able to find the fourth number, right? So Z, first one is this. So Z equals what? X minus mu over sigma. So you just plug in. Z is negative 0.2956. We want to find the X. Don't know. Mu is what? 67.7 over 3.5 for the first one. Then second one would be what? Z is 2.3767 equals what? X minus mu 67.7. Then sigma is 3.5. Then find the Z. That's what we need to do. Find the Z value, right? Find the X value. Z values are given differently. So you need to do that, right? To get X by itself, you have to times 3.5, right? This one times 3.5 this way. So this cancel out. Oops, I need to multiply this side. You do one side, you need to do another side, right? So this one, what do we have? 3.5 times negative should be negative. So I should have negative 8.0346 equals X minus this, right? To get X by itself, you plus 6.7, right? Use calculator. Then we should have 59.6654 equals X. So first one, you should have this answer, right? Then for this one, multiply 3.5 on both sides. This one, you should have this number, 8.31845 equals X minus 67.7, right? Then you will add 6.7 on both sides. Then what's your X? So you add them together, 76.01845. And it says rounded to 4 decimal places. This one is a 4 number. This one more than that, so I don't need this. Increment by 1. So my answer should be 6.0185 for your X. Is that right? Right? So you should be okay if you can do all those reviews and understand its meaning, and you should do fine on your exam for the exam 1. Is that right? You should be okay. And practice. You need to practice. Are we good?